When I think of the most synergistic relationships of all time, I think of the relationship I have with my nail technician at the mani-pedi place, and I also think about the relationship that major chords have with its relative minor. So today we're going to talk a little bit about major chords, the relative minor, what that means, and how you can apply it forward and backward to really just kind of like learn all the notes in the fretboard and do really cool things off of either of these types of chords, okay? So before we get started, I want to say this video is sponsored by Sweetwater and D'Angelico. They just sent me this amazing new Mini DC Tour Edition. I did an unboxing the other day with this. I'll link you with that if you're interested. There's an affiliate link in the description. I think it is such an amazing looking, sounding, and feeling guitar. So you're going to hear it throughout the entirety of this video, and then you're probably going to want to get one with the affiliate link in the description. So thank you so much to Sweetwater and D'Angelico for sending it over. All right. So we're going to do this in the people's key, the key of G. All right. So that means the G major is going to be the main thing. It's going to be the manager of the mani-pedi place, right? The one that sets all the deals and just really kind of make sure everybody's having a great time, setting the boundaries. All right. So the notes are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. Now, you don't have to know all those notes right now for this to be really valuable. In fact, this is a great way to just learn all the notes, all right? So every major chord has almost, think of it as like a coupled minor chord that goes with it, right? It's like if you go to the mani-pedi place, you don't want to just get your fingernails done, you're neglecting your toenails, right? So every major chord is going to have a relative minor. There are going to be two ways that we find this, okay? Traditionally, I think maybe the easiest way to find this is just wherever you're going, your root note of your major chord, go back 3 notes, and then you'll find the relative minor. So G major goes well with G, F sharp, F, E minor, okay? What that means is if you're playing in the key of G, right, you can really kind of add any E minor pentatonic shape. It's going to go along with it, and it's going to sound really good. The one that people always use for E minor pentatonic is open 3, open 2, open 2, open 2, open 3, open 3. So you can even see that like a G major chord comes from these notes, right? But what I want to do is I want to do something a little bit different where instead of going backwards to find the relative minor, we're going to go forward, all right? So one thing that I think is really, really valuable for everybody to learn is to be able to play a very simple arpeggio starting off the root note. So every time you see a G major chord, instead of thinking of it like an open position, think of it like this. Like this, right? So I'm getting the G, A, B, so 3, 5, 7, and then 5th fret on the A string, and the octave is going to be the 5th fret on the D string, okay? So this would be a G with this A note. You could say a G add 9 arpeggio, right? But always sounds good no matter what note you're starting on. If you're starting on a C, it's always going to sound good. D, G. But one thing that we can add very simply is this note right here. Right there. So if we count through the notes in the G major scale, like we did earlier, we've got G, A, B, C, D, E. Okay? Now remember when we went back to E, we got it that way, or we go forward to E, and I think this little line is a great way to just be able to chart it out in your mind's eye. So what we're doing is we're going from this note here to this note here. Okay? 6 notes away in the major scale, and that's what the relative minor is, okay? It's just the 6th note in any key's major scale, but it's way more valuable than just knowing it in G's position. It works for all the other major chords in this key, G, C, and D. The 1, 4, 5 in any key are going to be major chords, G, A, B, C, and D, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of find that 6th note, and then we're going to apply that same pentatonic shape starting here. Okay, so now we've got, just like with open E, 3 frets higher, open 2, we've got the same thing, but now it's 7, 10, 7, 9, 7, 9. Okay, so that's E minor pentatonic, G's relative minor pentatonic. Okay, so we can connect these two ideas off of any major chord in any key. Now, without even adding other chords, we could just kind of mess around with this like example, maybe like doing like a G. Right? I started with that arpeggio. Here's the chord, arpeggio. And then I'm here. So G. And that's kind of like a cool little line that sounds pretty good. Sounds like you're really playing through a lot of different things, but we're just playing the G chord. And then getting in that shape, which is the same as. So we're taking a chord and we're learning the same relative minor beneath the chord and also above the chord, because you can turn this into a full minor chord or minor 7 chord shape. But it's just great to be able to see it. Really, you can walk up that arpeggio to find it, that relative minor, or you can just jump from here to here. I think that sounds kind of cool. Something like that, like when you slide along the low E string to its major third, right? G to B, and then straight down a string. And there's like a lot of cool different things you can do just from that. Okay? So, the reason that we're using the pentatonic scale and not the full scale is because if we keep it with pentatonics, it works for everything in the same key. What I mean by that is let's do the same thing starting on a C, all right? So this is, again, 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth note in any key is major, so in G, G, A, B, C. C major is a chord that will also work and do this, right? So we've got a C major chord here. I'm gonna stay on the E string for right now, but we'll also move it up here. And we can do the same thing. Okay, so I started with that C, 8th fret, and I've got the 8, 10, 10, 9, 8, 8 major chord right here. And then what I can do is I can do that same arpeggio, C, D, E, G, A. There's this relative minor. I can climb and find it, A, or backwards, C, B, B flat, A. However you get there is fair game, right? So the nice thing about having a higher version like this is we can do the same thing where it's like, or we do the same thing. And again, I think there's just like a lot of utility in being able to go from here and thinking about this. Especially if you're doing like that rockabilly. Right? Again, these are this guitar sounds good. I'm going through a Supro Amulet, and again, these are the Supro custom pickups. And again, that's just the neck. A little more bite in the middle, bridge. Okay, so this works in any of these chords, right? So there's that C. However you want to just make the connection between it and its relative minor, and then we can go one chord further. We do the same thing on a D, which is the 10th fret. D, E, F sharp, A, B. Okay, see, so B is relative minor of D, and we just... So we're really pairing these together, and I think it's super, super important to be able to pair these together so you start playing within a key. And that's why pentatonic is great, because eventually you do get all 7 notes in the key, but because you're thinking of them paired with other chords, you don't have to remember, the positions all over the place. You can start kind of just making little connections with that, if that makes sense, right? So again, G, E minor, C, A minor, D, B minor, okay? So I also want to talk about rooting it on the A string when you're in this position. We can go to here, right? So there's C. Again, this chord is just C on the A string, 3rd fret, and then the 5th fret, D, G, and B strings. The cool thing about this shape too, and what I've found that I've actually started using in my playing, the more I do it, is actually playing a C major just like this, right? That triad, that A major chord, A sharp B, C. Because it just gives me access to like a lot of different things, right? Because I'm sitting in this position, which, again, there's that relative minor. I can add that A really easily, and then either go into that pentatonic there, or octave down, and I'm in minor pentatonic, and that shape just lends itself. D, C, A minor, G, and again, see, it's just taking that one shape and then that minor pentatonic kind of deal, right? And that comes from this and thinking of the relative minor, right? Now, if we do root it on the A string, you can either omit this root note because we have another C on the G string, or we could start the shape rooted on the D string. So now it changes because we have to compensate for that B string, right? So here's C major. I can think of my pointer finger just on the D string, a step higher, 2 frets higher, and that's going to be how I get my relative minor paired chord there. And then I can do that same. So now it's going to be 7, 10, 7, 9, and then because the B string is tuned differently, I can't go. I have to compensate 1 fret higher. 7, 10, 7, 9, 8, 10. Okay, and that's just kind of like, it's such a great way to think about that, because, you know, even though you may not be playing something that is C major to A minor, it's just great to take these existing shapes that you probably already have spent time like building into like your hands and like muscle memory, and being able to use them effectively, right? So even though it might not be a chord progression where it's like C to A minor, or D to B minor, it could just be C. And I'm just sticking on C. Maybe the whole thing is just C, right? And again, that's all just coming from this shape, and then it's totally movable. Go to D. Again, that's an interesting way because I'm focusing on the C in the key of G. All of this stuff is completely movable. Doesn't matter what key you're in. We go to B flat, right? Or even just here on that B flat. 3, 3, 3. You don't have to know what notes are even in the key of B flat. And again, we can use our little trick. The B flat on the E string is the 6th fret, back 3 frets, G minor. Screwed that up. Or I can go, and there's G on the 10th fret. So maybe if I just want to kind of get flashier and start doing stuff up here in minor, but then bringing it all the way, I could do B flat. And I'm kind of just going back between what I'm seeing as one shape and then another shape, and then really just moving all over the place, right? So in that key, it would be B flat. Then I would go straight down a string to find the 1, 2, 3, the 4 chord, E flat, F, B flat. And again, all that stuff is going to work every single time, 10 out of 10 times, right? So, sounds great on this D'Angelico guitar. Gotta get it from Sweetwater. Loving it. I like the amp too because I'm really enjoying this amp. I'll probably do another video on the Supro amp by itself, but right now it's just on 1 watt, and I can change it to different wattages to kind of drive it a little more depending on the room I'm in. I'm in a kind of a tinier spot now. If you didn't see the video the other day about moving to California. But yeah, like I said, thanks again to Sweetwater and D'Angelico, and let me know if you have any questions in the comment section, Instagram, the website. I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks.